My name is Ben White, and I am the Director of Missions Advancement with Core Missions. I want to share with you how God is working in miraculous ways around the world. But first, there are literally billions of people around the world who are not being reached with the gospel of Jesus Christ. Some of the reasons that these people are not being reached by American missionaries is because of the simple fact that American missionaries are not allowed into these countries. And then you have countries where American missionaries are allowed to go to and preach the gospel. But there are so many areas in those countries that are not being reached with the gospel due to the fact that they're just too remote to get to. We here at Core Missions believe that if we are going to reach these areas with the gospel, we need to use national pastors in these various countries to do it. What makes these national pastors uniquely qualified to reach these remote areas is the fact that they know the culture, they know the language. Think about how much work, time, resources is put into American missionaries trying to reach these different areas. These are obstacles that do not exist for the national pastors. Lots of times they grew up in these communities that they're now reaching with the gospel. Another great reason to utilize national pastors is because we can fully support a pastor for around $100 to $300 a month. By using national pastors, we are able to get to places in the world that are either close to American missionaries like Egypt or Myanmar, or places that are just too challenging to get to, like the remote villages in Africa, or the mountain churches up in the Philippines, or those village churches out in the bush of Honduras. These men face some major challenges when it comes to reaching their people. They need our support to come alongside them and help support the mission of the gospel in these remote areas of the world. They need our support to start churches in their villages. They need our financial support to help them get these churches up and going. Another thing that these men need is training. Most of these men are not blessed to have access to the Bible training that we have access to here in America. They need to be equipped with the tools to lead and grow these churches. Over the years, God has been preparing our family to serve with Core Missions and to help advance the gospel in these remote areas. I've had the privilege of serving for 17 years as one of the pastors at Fellowship Baptist Church. Over these years, God has opened up opportunities for my wife and I to go on mission trips around the world. We've had the opportunity to see God working in these remote areas. Every time we would come home from one of these trips, our hearts would be so heavily burdened for the pastors serving in these countries and for the people in these remote villages that have not yet heard the gospel. After much fasting and prayer, lots of counsel, we surrendered to serve with Core Missions as the Director of Missions Advancement. After working for 17 years to advance the gospel in our local church, we knew God was calling us to help advance the gospel around the world. Here at Core Missions, we have worked and are working hard to put together a robust support, follow-up, and accountability process for these national pastors. We personally travel to these countries and interview each and every one of these pastors that we come to raise support for. We have developed a healthy accountability process and we communicate with them on a regular basis. Our goal is not to support these men indefinitely, but to help them grow their church to the point that that church can then take on the responsibility of supporting these pastors as we believe is a biblical model. That's why we're here. We're here to bridge the gap between these pastors on the field and churches just like yours. We have seen firsthand what God can do through these national pastors. I remember when we were in Africa, we traveled 3 days to get to this yearly gathering of these village churches. It brought tears to our eyes as we saw hundreds of Africans, first-generation Christians, worshiping God, preaching the gospel, and baptizing new believers. This happened because the African people were reaching the African people. And CORE is honored to help raise support to help them continue to reach their remote villages with the good news of Jesus Christ. I can't wait to see what God is going to continue to do through CORE missions and churches just like yours. I see the gospel spreading from village to village across the countryside and through the jungles of the world. Our family has stepped out in faith and committed our lives to getting the gospel to these unreached areas of the world. But we need your help to do it. We primarily need your help in 3 ways. First, financially. Your financial support will allow us to get to these remote areas, connect with new pastors, help train these men, and help get these churches established. But we need your help. We literally cannot do this without you. Secondly, we need your prayer. I believe in the power of prayer. Our family is dependent on prayer more than we ever have been in our lives. Please take one of our prayer cards, and if you and your family could pray for us, that is honestly the most valuable gift that you could give us. And the last thing we really need is your faithfulness. We need your faithfulness to advance the gospel in your local church. Because if you have a strong, healthy church, that allows us to go out on your behalf and help reach the unreached people with the gospel. We look forward to partnering with you to reach these remote areas of the world with the gospel.